In the winter of 1959, a group of 9 young hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute embarked on a challenging expedition in the remote Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student and an experienced mountaineer. Their goal was to reach a mountain peak called Otorten, which means "don't go there" in the local Mansi language. But they never made it. Instead, they met a mysterious and tragic fate that has baffled investigators and sparked countless theories for over 6 decades. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, the world's most terrifying hiking mystery. The 9 hikers were Igor Dyatlov, the leader; Zinaida Kolmogorova, a 22-year-old radio engineering student and Dyatlov's love interest; Lyudmila Dubinina, a 20-year-old economics student and an aspiring engineer; Yuri Doroshenko, a 21-year-old radio engineering student and Dubinina's boyfriend; Rustem Slobodin, a 23-year-old mechanical engineering student and a skilled skier; Semyon Zolotaryov, a 37-year-old, an instructor Kurovka Tour Base; Georgy Krivonishenko, a 23-year-old nuclear physics student and a musician; Alexander Kolevatov, a 24-year-old nuclear physics student and a former lab assistant at a secret facility; Yuri Yudin, a 21-year-old geology student and the only survivor of the group; and Nikolai Thibault Brignoles, a 23-year-old civil engineering student and a talented photographer. The group left Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, on January 23, 1959. They took a train to Ivdel, a town in the northern province of Sverdlovsk Oblast, and then a bus to Vizhai, the last inhabited settlement before the mountains. There, they bought some supplies and sent their last postcards to their families and friends. On January 27th, they started their trek toward Otorten. Yuri Yudin, who suffered from chronic health problems, had to turn back due to a flare-up of his sciatica. He bid farewell to his friends, not knowing that he would never see them again.
I was very sad to leave them. They were like my family. We had so many plans and dreams together. I wanted to go with them to the end, but my pain was too much. I thought I would catch up with them later after they returned from Otorten. I had no idea what was waiting for them there.
The group continued their journey, crossing a frozen river and entering the forested slopes of the mountains. They planned to make a base camp near the edge of the forest and then climb to the peak of Otorten. However, on February 1st, they encountered bad weather and poor visibility. They lost their sense of direction and deviated from their route. Instead of moving toward Otorten, they ended up on the eastern slope of another mountain, Kholat Syakhl, which means Dead Mountain in Mansi. Realizing their mistake, Dyatlov decided to pitch their tent on the exposed slope, rather than going back to the forest. He hoped to resume their ascent the next day. The hikers had a portable stove, a camera, a radio, and a diary. They cooked their dinner, took some photos, and wrote their last entries. They were in good spirits despite the harsh conditions. They joked about their situation, sang songs, and discussed their future plans. They had no reason to suspect that something terrible was about to happen. Sometime between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m., something triggered a panic among the hikers. They cut open their tent from the inside and fled into the darkness, leaving behind most of their belongings, including their shoes, coats, and weapons. They ran downhill toward the forest in different directions. Some of them were barefoot. Others were wearing only socks or one boot. Some of them were partially undressed. Others were wrapped in blankets or pieces of clothing. They were exposed to the freezing cold, the strong wind, and the deep snow. What could have driven them to such a desperate act? What did they see or hear that night? What was the compelling natural force that the Soviet authorities later blamed for their deaths? The first 2 bodies were found on February 26th near a large cedar tree at the edge of the forest, about 1.5 kilometers from the tent. They were Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonishenko. They had severe frostbite and burns on their hands and feet. They had no external injuries except for some scratches and bruises. They were wearing only underwear and shirts. Next to them there were traces of a small fire, some broken branches, and some pieces of clothing. It seemed that they had tried to climb the tree either to look for their tent or to escape from something. They had also tried to keep themselves warm but failed. The next 3 bodies were found between the cedar tree and the tent, along a line that suggested that they were trying to return to their shelter. They were Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. They had died of hypothermia, but they also had some strange injuries. Dyatlov had a bruise on his right temple and some blood on his lips. Kolmogorova had a bruise on her right eye and some blood in her mouth. Slobodin had a fractured skull, but no external wound. They were better dressed than the first two, but still not enough for the weather. They had also swapped some of their clothes with each other, perhaps to help their friends who were more exposed. The last 4 bodies were found on May 4th, in a ravine about 75 meters from the cedar tree, under 4 meters of snow. They were Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Nikolai Thibaut Brignoles, and Semyon Zolotaryov. They had the most horrific injuries of all. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had multiple broken ribs, Thibaut Brignoles had a crushed skull, and Kolevatov had a broken nose. Dubinina was also missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips. Zolotaryov was missing his eyes and his eyebrows. They had no external wounds or bleeding, as if the damage was done by a high-pressure force. They were also wearing some of the clothes that belonged to the first 2 victims, and some of those clothes were found to be radioactive. They were better equipped than the others, but still not enough to survive. The Soviet authorities closed the case in May 1959, stating that the hikers had died of a compelling natural force that could not be explained. They did not provide any details or evidence to support their conclusion. They also sealed the files and classified them as secret. They prohibited any access to the area for 3 years and discouraged any further investigation or discussion of the incident. The families and friends of the hikers were left with more questions than answers. They demanded justice and truth, but they were met with silence and censorship. Over the years, the Dyatlov Pass Incident has become a subject of intense interest and speculation, both in Russia and abroad. Many researchers, journalists, writers, filmmakers, and enthusiasts have tried to solve the mystery using different methods and sources. Some of them have claimed to have found new evidence or witnesses. Others have proposed new theories or explanations. Some of them have even visited the site and conducted their own experiments or investigations. However, none of them have been able to provide a definitive answer or a conclusive proof. The mystery remains unsolved, and the debate continues. What really happened to the 9 hikers on that fateful night in 1959? What was the compelling natural force that killed them? Was it a natural disaster, a human error, a military experiment, an alien encounter, or something else? What evidence or clues can we find in the tent, the bodies, the clothes, the photos, the diary, or the official documents? What secrets or lies are hidden behind the Soviet cover-up? And most importantly, can we ever know the truth? The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious cases in the history of exploration and adventure. It challenges our understanding of nature, science, and human behavior. It fascinates and terrifies us at the same time. It invites us to question everything and to seek answers. It is a mystery that may never be solved, but will never be forgotten.